ओ ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। परमानन्दमाधवं परमानन्दमाधवम्। ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविरावीर्म एधि वेदस्य माणिस्थः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन अहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि हृदं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिरिवोद्भूतं यथा निद्रया यत्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः। इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। श्री कृष्ण गोविंद हरे मुरारे हे नाथ नारायण वासुदेवा जिह्वे पिबस्वामृतमेतदेव गोविन्द दामोदर माधवेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति। Narayan, Narayan, Narayan. Chapter 3, verse number 18. I'll read the verse first and then we'll continue from where we left in the last session. Verse number 18. नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृते नेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः नैव तस्य कृतेनार्थः नाकृते नेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः. Continuing from where we left in the last session, in this verse, Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna is trying to talk in these last two verses, 17 and 18. Bhagavan Krishna is talking about the state of a jnani, a man of realization, man of self-abidance. What is his state? He is beyond this, the rules of this creation. That is what I mean to say here. Means what? For him, Bhagavan says there are no more duties left. He is not required to act in this creation at all. There are many aspects we saw in the last session. We are continuing from there where we left in the last session. We saw that there is a direct connection of duties with what we have in our life as attainables. So I'll use two words which we use in Hindi. For duties, we call them kartavya, and the attainables. Attainables means those which we have intent to attain, or we have desire to attain, we have desire to obtain. They are called attainables. They are coined with this word in Sanskrit called praptavya. Okay, so now you see the beauty. The duties are directly related to attainables. So there is a direct relationship between duties and the attainables. So as long as jivatva is there, jivatva means we are living as a jiva. Remember, in one's life, as long as we live as a jiva, as long as jivatva is sustained in us, maintained in us, as we live as a jiva, lead the life as a jiva, in that human being's life, remember, at all the times something or the other will always be there in life to be attainable, so to say. So and because why there will be attainable? Because as long as jivatva is there, bhoktritva is also there. Bhoktritva means enjoyership. Man constantly wants to enjoy something or the other, constantly is looking for happiness. Happiness means enjoyment only, no? The source of happiness is different thing, but at the core of it is what? Enjoyership is sitting there, na? Bhoktritva is sitting there. So as long as bhoktritva is there, I've said in the earlier podcast also, in the last podcast also, remember, as long as bhoktritva is there, so long as kartritva will also be there, doership will always be there. You have to do something, right, to gain and or to enjoy. Enjoyment will not come free to you. You have to do something. So bhoktritva is there, doership will also be there. So the state of attainable, well, is such that as long as attainable is there in our life, is present in our life, remember, duties will always be there. Rather, I would use the word duties are a must for a person who has got attainable in life. Now we come think of a situation that attainable, there are a lot of attainables in my life, a lot of things to be attained or obtained in my life, but I will stand facing a back towards my duties, or I will be completely away from my duties. I have aversion for my duties. Remember, that is not correct at all. That's not a correct way of life. Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna says, since for a man of self knowledge, a man of firm abidance in the self, well, for that, such a person, such a man of realization, such a saint, there is nothing in this cosmos, nothing in this created world which is coined as attainable for such a person. He's got nothing attainable in this creation. His state has reached such a level that this man has got no attainable in this created world at all. Now, when I say attainable, I'm giving you, different examples of attainable, so to say. Take the height of attainable. Even in higher lokas, higher, states, or higher loka, so to say, higher realms of life, so to say, they are also attainable. If somebody wants to attain Swarga, somebody wants to attain Brahmaloka, right? They are all attainables. But for this man of realization, this man having firm knowledge of the self, firm abidance in the self, there is nothing attainable in this cosmos, so to say. Since he's got nothing attainable in this cosmos, because of such a state, for such a person, there are no more duties left at all. Okay, that's the funda you need to remember. That's the fundamental you need to remember. Since this man has got nothing to be attained in this life, has got no interest of attaining anything in this life, has got no desire to attain or obtain anything in this cosmos, because of that, this man has reached a level that he's crossed over his duties. There are no more duties is left. Now, this word called praptavya or attainable, there are three forms of attainable. Okay, what are the three forms of attainable? That whatever we attain, in why we attain those things, because either we want contentment, tripti, or we want on what you call that reveling nature, or we want to revel in something, and we want to revel continuously in something. That's the second form. The third form is that we want to be satisfied or fulfilled with something. Okay, so we are looking for either of these three things. I'm telling you honestly, I told you in the last session that most of the things we see in this object world, in this objectified life, in this objectified creation, you will see that we usually don't get all three at one place. We don't find all three in one achievement or one object or anything. So that's why I'm putting this in three forms. So we are looking for, or contentment, we are looking to revel in something, and we are looking for satisfaction or fulfillment in something. So that is what our search in life is all about. Now, this attainable has got three departments. Okay, these three classifications we have, these three forms I spoke about, these three categories I spoke about of attainable. These three things are, for the man of realization, established in one thing, which is the self alone. Okay, since this man of realizations, all these three things are completed in the self alone. That is why he has got no more attainable left. What happens with us today is that we, for example, we desire an object. I'm just giving you an example. When I speak about further in this verse, I'm going to talk about that also. When we desire an object, when we get the object, we are trying to chase the object because we feel that either all these three things or one of these things is definitely present in that object. Once we get that object, right, we may be satisfied, we may revel in it for some time, or we may feel contented for some time. Either of these three things I can give you that discount or leeway. So, but what happens, but that since these three things together are not present in there, we start looking for something else. Slowly, gradually, that satisfaction goes away. The reveling thing also, how long will you revel in whatever object? I can give a million examples, but you can think of your own. How long will you revel? How long will you who actually feel contented with that thing? Slowly, gradually, that thing stops exciting you, and then what happens? Mind jumps into a different thing. Oh, I didn't find that level of satisfaction or level of reveling or level of contentment in that. That means there is something else which is there. So my mind shifts into a different thing, because I'm continuously searching for these three things all through my life/lives. Why am I here? I'm here because I did not get all these three things in the last life. Simple, right? And I'm continuously searching for that. That's why my life is continued. I'm continuously searching for it. Till when I have to continue? Till the time I reach a level that I understand the self, grasp the self, develop interest in that self, and sit down and work hard to attain that self. Only when we reach that level of attainment of the self, our search completely stops. That is what this man of for this man of realization, Bhagwan, Supreme Consciousness, Bhagwan Krishna is saying here. Now, the one thing we need to remember is this self or the supreme consciousness is the one where we can have ultimate level of reveling, ultimate level of contentment, ultimate level of satisfaction. That is why, when we try to put words for the supreme consciousness, we say Sat, Chit, and Anand. It's not Sukh. Sukh means happiness. Happiness, wherever happiness is there, remember, sorrow is just around the corner somewhere in any form or manner. So that's the thing we need to remember. But when we reach the state of Ananda, there is no opposite of Ananda. Bliss is bliss, absolute. And it is far higher than and all the happiness we gain in life, so to say, put together. So in the I took one portion of Taittiriya Upanishad in the last session. In Taittiriya Upanishad also, it's spoken about the Ananda, the level of Ananda which is attained by a man of realization is higher than the total of all the happiness gained by all jivas, starting from Brahmaji up to the stump of a tree, in all their lives put together, whatever happiness they have gained, and by all the jivas put together, if you total all that together, the amount of bliss experienced by the man of realization is higher than that total put together. That's the level of Ananda we are talking about. So when we talk about the supreme consciousness, called Sat, Chit, and Anand. Sat means existence principle, Chit means the consciousness itself, and Anand means bliss. So existence, consciousness, bliss is a different way to coin the when we describe supreme consciousness, because that is the existence itself. We exist because of that existence principle. We are conscious because of that at supreme consciousness. We experience all the happiness in our life because of that supreme consciousness. Everything is coming from there only. So this man of realization understands this thing. Why he gains that level? Because the supreme consciousness or the self is of the nature of ultimate reveling, ultimate satisfaction, and ultimate contentment. And this man of realization plays in that consciousness, revels in that consciousness, and so means what? This man of realization is playing with himself, and that too constantly reveling. He's like playing with himself. He doesn't need anyone to play with. So, when we talk about games and all, we need to play with something, with someone, right? But here this man is playing with himself. He's reveling in himself all by himself. So since he's constantly reveling in that, so that is why his state is such that he don't need to do any act at all. And now, one thing, when we talk about or that level of realization, remember when we say that man has attained the ultimate supreme consciousness or the self abidance, it is not a state where one becomes completely still or everything stops. Rather, it is a state where there is constant reveling going on. It's not that after reaching there the man is still, doesn't move, doesn't do anything. Is Don't consider such a state, because we do not understand that state. These kind of concepts keep appearing in our mind. And at this place, remember, even words are, are not capable to explain. They lose their capability to explain this state, because you know usually reveling always happens, has got three aspects. Reveling is done by someone and in something, and and it has to be of someone, in someone, and by someone, right? But uh, here remember, the reveling is in the self, of the self, and by the self. Because it is established this way, that's why this man is free from all kinds of action. Now, when we say this thing, why we may feel that there is a contradicting or conflictory statement in this itself, in these things. How can one revel in that, by that, all by alone, and all those things? It's very, we may feel there is a kind of conflicting or contradictory kind of a statement. But remember this thing: all the realized saints have this experience alone, as explained by them. And our Shruti, our Vedas also expounds about of that state in this way only, that this is how a man of realization experience. Guru Nanak Ji says uh, Guru Nanak Ji, in his scripture, says that, I have already used that before also. Ram Rahiya Mera Saiya, Ram Rahiya Bharpur. This is what he explains in his whatever rendition and Guru Nanak Ji has given. Guru Nanak Ji in his Granth Sahib says this. I have already explained that before also. Ram Rahiya Mera Saiya, Ram Rahiya Bharpur. And he says, Apai Rasya, Aparas, Apai Ramanhar. And remember, all these three things are happening in the self alone. So here it's the description of self alone in the Granth Sahib, where Guru Nanak Ji has spoken about. So here Bhagwan also says the same thing. Atmani means in the self, Atmana, by the self, and who is getting satisfied? Atmaiva. Atma itself, the self itself is satisfied and contented and fulfilled by the self, in the self alone. Here, there is no distinction between in the action and the doer. Kriya Karak distinction is not there. Kriya is also the self, the Karak, the doer, is also the self. So, because it's all in the self, by the self, all by itself. So, that is how we need to understand. And that is what the nature of reveling is all about. Now, this one is completely free from the distinction of action and the doer. That distinction is completely absent here. And those people, well, for whom the reveling is established in the self, well, the contentment is obtained in the self itself. They start feeling contented with the self itself, and they feel completely fulfilled and satisfied with the self. For such a great saint, such a Mahapurush, in their life, there is nothing attainable left for them. Because of that, tasya karyam na vidyate. For them, no more actions are left for such a person. This man of realization is free from all kinds of duties and all kinds of actions. Supreme consciousness Bhagwan Krishna is clearly announcing that here. He is clearly expounding that here. And remember one thing, from Bhagavad Gita standpoint, you need to understand, in the previous chapter also, when Bhagwan said Niyatam Karma Kuru and all, when Bhagwan is talking to us that we must do our respective duties, there Bhagwan is not telling us that the duties are mandated for everyone in this creation. Bhagwan has never said that the arrangement of duty is for everyone in this creation. We should not misunderstand Gita that way. Gita never expounds or never says that anywhere that actions and duties are for everyone in this creation. Because in Bhagavad Gita itself, Bhagwan is making that exception, that who are the exceptions who are beyond the laws of this creation, beyond the laws of this created world. The those people who are the heroes as explained by Bhagavad Gita, who are the real heroes expounded by Bhagavad Gita, uh, uh, the truth which is expounded by Bhagavad Gita, those people who have completely firmly established themselves in that truth. But for those people, remember, Bhagavad Gita herself is accepting that for those people there are no more duties left at all. There are no more duties left for such a person at all. Those people who are individual egoistic means what? Who have the individual ego in them, who identify themselves as an individual, means I would use the word dehabhimani, who identifies themselves as the body. Those people who have taken on the conditionings of this nature and have established oneness with those conditions of the prakriti given to them, and considers themselves as the prakriti itself. For those people, Supreme Consciousness Bhagwan Krishna through Bhagavad Gita very loud and clear says, Nahi kaschit shanamapi jatu tishtatya akarmakrit. Why? Those people cannot sit idle even for 1 minute also. Kshanamapi, 1 second also. Cannot sit idle at all, are not supposed to sit idle at all. Why? Because this creation doesn't stay without action, or this wheel of action in this creation does not stop even for a second. This wheel of creation is constantly moving, constantly acting. And if we have accepted that this prakriti means this created body, mind and intellect, what I have today, if I have accepted this created as me, accepted that I am this what has been created, remember, then we need to know one thing: this created or this creation is constantly active, and since my identification is that with that which is created, because of that I also need to constantly be acting. By mere winding up actions of the body or limiting the my hands and legs from movement, by just winding up my hands and legs and sitting somewhere, if I think ever that I have become action, I have attained actionlessness, remember, that is a mere illusion of us only. It's only a brahma, because this created or this creation and can never be without action, can never be without movement. Just by winding up my hands and legs, I cannot call that as attaining a state of actionlessness. Remember, this body is part of this created, this part of this creation. This mind is part of this creation. All my senses are modifications of these different aspects of this creation only. Since this is the state and my identification is with this all these things as a human being, if I still feel myself as completely actionlessness, then remember, it is nothing but an illusion of that person, and it cannot be anything else at all. It is not a state of actionlessness at all. Now remember, this word, identification, and in Sanskrit is called tadatmya. Now I've used this word identification, so I would use the Sanskrit word, the way Sanskrit word is coined of tadatmya. Tadatmya means tad eva atma iti manyate. I am that. When I accept that fact, I realize that fact and I experience that fact, that is called tadatmya. Like when I experience or understand myself or identify myself as the body, it means what? My identification is as per this body, and my identification will be according to my body. So I am a man, I am a woman, I am fair skinned, I am, what do you call that, wheatish complexioned, I am dark, and this, that, all that is identification of the body only. And remember, this jiva is not limited to this body at all. Whatever form I accept myself to be, the form is always as per the a form of my body. Where what form do you have? You seen your antakarna? You've not. So who do you identify yourself as? You identify yourself as this body. That is our tadatmya right now. And if this is the knowledge of me, in my intellect, if this is the understanding of me in my intellect, then the one thing we need to remember is this body can never be without action at all. And if we have understood this way, or we have announced this way, that or we have accepted this way, that just by merely making my hand and leg free from movement and sitting at one place I have attained actionlessness, then that is my foolishness only, nothing else. Now, if we desire to see actionlessness in nature, or we consider nature as actionlessness, just remember, it is nothing but our illusion only. That is why Supreme Consciousness, Bhagavan Krishna, loud and clear has said, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtati akarmakrat. Now, this is something we need to understand very, very clearly. This understanding we must have very, very clearly, that when Bhagwan says this, Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrit, Bhagwan is talking here or addressing here only those who are ajnani, ignorant people like us. It's only for the ajna. That is why Bhagwan Bhashyakar, Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji has explained this word kaschid as, he's put the meaning of this word kaschid as agnya iti vakya shesha. I've already read the bhasha in the last session. You just refer to that. Bhagwan Bhashyakar has, as explained this word kaschid as agnya iti vakya shesha. That you should understand this kaschid kshanamapi is only for those who are ignorant, who have not known about the self, who are even now are remaining at the level of ignorance. This statement of Bhagwan and is for everyone. If we consider this meaning, then we are grossly misunderstanding in the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Why? Because since we may end up understanding that way, Bhagwan in this chapter, in these two verses 17 and 18, has loud and clear made an announcement that for a man with firm abidance in the self, for him, for such a person, there is no requirement of a duty at all, no requirement of an action. He is completely, what you call that, had absolved this man from all kind of duties and action. If here somebody makes this meaning, or some person explaining Bhagavad Gita makes this meaning that this word is for everyone, the nahi kaschit chanamapi, so that will be a very, very gross misunderstanding if somebody takes that meaning or explains that particular meaning. Why? Because if you take that meaning, if somebody explains that particular meaning, that for everyone and in this creation action is a must, action or duties are there, then for even a jnani, even a man of self knowledge or self realization, for that man also there will be duties left. And if you consider that as the explanation of Bhagavad Gita, then I'm sorry, you are making a gross mistake of what Bhagavad Gita is trying to tell you. Now, The state of a man of ignorance is such that he or she considers the nature itself as me, accepts nature as me, identifies with nature so strongly that nature itself considers as him or her. And and since that person has accepted nature as me, he has reached that level, and then and the what do you call that, the nature of this nature is what, the law of this nature is what, that the nature is constantly active. And since this person has identified with the nature, this person will also have to constantly act all the time. But those who have reached the level of reveling in the self have placed or seated in the seat of self all the time. Yasya atmaratirevasya are those who have found reveling in the self alone. For such a person, there is no rule, there is no description of any kind of duties. Is and Supreme Conscious Bhagavan Krishna is saying that through Bhagavad Gita itself, tasya karyam na vidyate. And the reason for that is, in the life of such a person, there is not even a wee bit attainable left in this cosmos. There is nothing in this cosmos which is left to be attained. We are attaining, we have attainable because we have not reached the ultimate. He has already reached the ultimate. So for him, there is nothing attainable left in this creation. And it's not that much only. The state where a man of realization is, the level which a man of realization is, that state does not require any kind of action to remain there or to maintain there. No kind of action is required for that. That state of this man of realization is free from all kinds of action. Yes, we need actions till the time we reach that level. That is true. That is absolutely correct. With action and hard work only we attain that. He also who had worked hard to reach that state. But once you reach that state, it is not dependent on any kind of activity. It is not dependent on any kind of action. And this free from these kind of states are at two levels. Now that you need to understand that why our states are all dependent on actions and activity, constant working hard on that. Why? Because and this man is free from that. Why? Because there is one such state, right, where by doing an action, once you've reached that state I'm talking about, once you, by doing an action, you are not going to gain anything more. And by not doing any action, you are not going to lose out on anything also, because already attained what needs to be attained. Means what? There is such a state which is completely free from all kind of actions. Usually we do action. Why? We do action for two things: either to attain something or reach a state, one, or to maintain what we have already attained, or what we have already gained, what we have already obtained. Now, I can give you many examples of that. Some person worked very hard to earn wealth. Now, my question to all of those who have done that: are you free now? You really need to work hard to maintain that. I told you in the last session also, there are always fraudsters, scamsters, and all sitting all the while trying to hook on to your money and try to steal away what you have. So unless and until you maintain, and even I'm saying, even if you do nothing also, you will start losing what you have gained. You have to constantly act for that also. So we usually do actions either to attain something or to maintain something what we have attained. So attainment and maintenance is what we constantly act upon. Now this man and has got nothing to be worked upon. Why? Because by doing an action, he is not going to grow into something different. Or by dropping an action, he is not going to fall from that state. He's already reached that state. We have to constantly maintain the states. If you do, like, all the things which you see in your life, even if you are educated, you have gained skill also, you have to constantly do maintenance. You can see any profession, you will see you have to constantly upskill yourself because the world is changing so fast. But for this man, and there is no state from where he's going to fall down. If we, by not doing an action, if we lose out on something, that is what is called pratyavaya. Okay, pratyavaya is those when we do not do what we are supposed to do. Now, if we, all of us take bath in the morning, we do Sandhya Vandan, all these kind of activities, is if we do not do, such things, if we do not do Sandhya Vandan or bath and all, we are going to really fall down from that place. But if we do take bath every day, if we do Sandhya Vandan every day, eh, there is not going to be any special development of the body there. Bath is not going to develop your body in anything different, right? In the same way, Sandhya Vandan, etc. also, you're not going to develop yourself into something different. You're not going to develop your body into something different. But yes, if you do not do, you are going to fall down. This is not something where we are going to develop into something. But if we do not do these things, remember, it is definitely going to become a reason for our downfall. I'm talking about Sandhya Vandan also. Why prayer is important, why sadhana is important. If you do sadhana, definitely yes, you are going to gain spiritual stamina. That's true. But there is not going to be any special development in your bodily level or worldly level or anything, right? But yes, it's going to protect you from many things out in the world. But if you do not do, you are definitely leaving room for you to fall. That thing you need to remember very well. Now, when we talk on the other side about things dependent upon the action, then what do we mean by that? By doing it we are going to attain a higher level, so to say. And by not doing it, we may fall down from that place. As I told you, the wealth, you may have worked hard to earn it. If you want to earn wealth, you will have to work hard, right? When you work hard, you earn the wealth. But just earning the wealth is not going to be retained with you there. You have to work hard to maintain it also. If you do not do that, then you are going to fall down from where you have attained, whatever state you have attained. That is what is meant by the word called, they are karma sapeksh. Karma sapeksh means they are all dependent on our action. At the a transactional level, at the worldly level, people say that, and if somebody has got the wealth of Kuber is supposed to be the custodian of the entire wealth of this creation, by the way, and somebody has got lot of wealth, and without doing any action, this person is constantly spending, then what happens? Slowly, gradually, the wealth is going to diminish and is going to finish. Now, when constant flow of river, or even if it's like the flow is very small, when there is a constant flow of river, and it is constantly flowing, then we constantly what do you call that, receive or benefit from the water. But if that constant flow stops, then means what? The meaning of this is that action should always be continued as long as we are here. If we end up stopping the action, and if we end up stopping the action after attaining what we have done, and then what happens? Whatever we have accumulated, we are going to end up spending from that, and one day it is going to finish. That is what you need to remember. The kind of arrangement we all live in today, remember, we never know what will change in that condition. We will never come to know what is going to change tomorrow. Now, the best example I can give is, you just look around the things happening in the world. At the geopolitical level, things happening in the world. Nobody expected what is happening. But yes, it is impacting, and it has impacted a large community of people. And it is constantly doing that. Nobody expected this, right? Nobody ever calculated this is coming. This is not something which you can calculate. We don't know where the world is leading, the way the geopolitical things are changing. Since 2024, I know that many people have been debating and discussing that we seem to be at a verge of something, that we may end up in a world war. And everyone has been talking about that since 2024, I'm saying. You see how constantly things are changing rapidly. Something is happening somewhere, something else is happening somewhere, something is still continuing somewhere, something new has happened up somewhere, some new person has come up, somebody has shook up the world. You just see around, everything is constantly changing, and this is something which we can never ever have calculated. We do not know what will change around us when. So the change is something which we can never calculate. No system will remain at the same level ever. When what thing will go up or down, nobody can say about that. That is why in our Vedas, for Lakshmi ji, means the goddess of wealth, there is one thing which is coined as her name is Chanchala. Chanchala means who is so fickle in nature. Money, just think, I've already spoken that in one of my podcasts also. Oh, money constantly wants to move out from you. It doesn't want to stay with you. Lakshmi ji never wants to stay at one place ever. She wants to constantly move on. Where does she stay? That is also very important for us to know. She only stays at the lotus feet of Bhagwan Narayan. That is the only place from where she does not want to move. That these are things which we need to understand. How our Puranas, our scriptures describe these things. There are messages written, hidden beneath that. The only thing is that we don't understand many of them. That is the reason why, and we don't try to understand also. Now, if we try to become, so-called actionless, remember, actionlessness, we try to attain that level, the definition which we understand today, then remember, it is sure that we'll fall from wherever we have reached. We'll start falling from wherever we have reached. And that also is termed as this word called pratyavaya dosh in our Vedic scriptures. Now, I'm giving you certain examples for you to take back. Just take an example. Somebody with great hard work has made his or her antakarna pure. And with that pure antakarna, this person does meditation daily, does japa daily, does penance daily, does satsang also, quite regularly. Now, it is quite possible that some may say, by doing all these things, it's not that you have become more purer. By doing that thing, you may not have become more purer. Yes, you may have gained purity. You have already gained the purity. By doing these things continually, you're not going to become more purer now. Maybe that, from their standpoint, they are saying right only. But the bigger thing which we need to understand is that if this person, after attaining that level, drops these things, he stops doing meditation, stops japa, stops penance, stops satsang completely, Remember, if that happens, it is sure shot that the seeker is going to fall from where he has reached. The falling is definite for such a person. The downfall for such a person is definite. Why? Because by constantly not doing this, if he drops all these things which I just spoke about, immediately dirt or wrong things will start entering the intellect. There will be no time gap at all. There will be no delay at all in wrong things. Things wrong. There are so many bad things in this creation also. They will start entering his intellect, and with great difficulty, the purity he has gained, it will start to become impure very fast. Here, but when Bhagavan says akritena, means what? What by not doing, in for this particular person, by not doing, this person is definitely going to, reach a level of disturbing side of his own personality very soon. He will definitely going to trouble himself, so to say. And by doing it, he may not be attaining anything special more, but still he has to end up doing it. Why? Because by not doing, there is a great amount of loss for such a person. You know, sometimes you will see a man, and for growth and development, for growing, definitely works hard, but sometimes only for or maintaining that level also, that person works very hard. And remember, in the maintenance part, there is no increment available there. There is no growth or development there. But still also, this person has to constantly do it. Why? Because the moment he drops action, whatever state this person has achieved, remember, it will never stay protected. This person is going to end up losing it. Kshema means protection will not be there. Now, realization of the self or Atma Avasthan or Swarupa Avasthan is such a state where by doing, by it's not such a state where by doing, somebody is going to gain something, or by not doing, somebody is going to lose something. That is the complete difference between, or complete opposite of, what the worldly achievements are all about. So once a person attains the self, it is not such a state, that Swarupa Avasthan or Atma Avasthan is not such a state where by doing it is going to increase further, or by not doing, somebody is going to fall down. In reality, one of the natural instinct or natural desire of all of us as human beings is that uh, that we should attain such a state where we constantly get happiness, and that state, it also in such is such a level that we do not have a fear of losing that state also. That is a constant endeavor of all of us, that we reach a state which is full of happiness, and that we do not have the responsibility of maintaining it also. That is our constant endeavor in life. Now, such a state in at the worldly level doesn't seem to be attained anywhere, so to say. Even if we reach a state which is happiness as driving for all of us, but remember, we will always have the constant fear of losing it sometime, sometime or the other. Or we will have the responsibility of constantly maintaining it. That we should end up taking too much care about it, or taking in so much care about it, that we are so careful constantly that we do not end up we are able to maintain this state, or we do not end up losing it at all. Now this responsibility of maintaining it is actually a burden on all of our head, isn't it? And remember, we after doing it constantly also get bored of doing it again and again. And uh, you know, the interest of doing it rather than increasing how long we'll do, we end up asking ourselves, now how long more I have to do it? Why don't government protect these things? Why don't this do? Why don't that do? All those things keep on coming into our mind. Kabir Das ji says, he writes in his rendition that सुखिया यह संसार है, खाए और सोए, दुखिया दास कबीर है, जागे और रोए. Now those people who are patient enough, or who have got worked hard very well in terms of managing through themselves, or constantly growing and developing through themselves in the vertical growth, in whom the mumukshutva means the desire to attain the self is constantly burning and troubling them. And for such a person, till the time they attain abidance in the self, remember, for such a person, the worldly happiness does not give happiness to them at all. Why? Because his interest is in the self. He wants abidance in the self and self alone. That is the definition of mumukshutva also, that that a complete attainment of the self and nothing else at all. Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji, in his Prakarana Grantha called Tattvabodh, describes mumukshutvam as moksho mein bhuyad iti ichha, a burning desire for liberation, that which doesn't let me sleep, doesn't let me rest at all. I want nothing but the realization alone. That is the state. Till the time the realization is attained, nothing in this world is going to make such a mumukshu happy, because there is a deep desire for mumukshutvam. Now, we need to think, what does a common man, what does a human being, a person wants? What does we want? What does the jiva want? And the state what we as jivas, we as human beings are looking for is a state where we can be constantly happy and there is no fear that we are going to end up losing that. I'll give you certain examples to explain that. I attained samadhi, but I should have no fear that my samadhi will be broken. I should have no fear that my antakarana will become impure, will gather impure things. I should have no fear that my state of sattva will ever be spoiled. I should have no fear that I will become poor again. I should have no fear that others will become angry with me. I should have no fear that I should end up losing someone. Meaning what? Whatever state I have got, from where I am getting happiness now, usually the fear of losing that is already contained in there. And I need to look at a state where that fear is not there at all. And remember, since the fear of losing it is constantly contained in that, that is why it will always keep us tied to doing action. It will always tie us to doing action. Whether it is at the level of worldly level or transactional level, or whether it is at the level of spiritual level, spirituality level. Whichever state you may see, this thing will constantly keep us into action. Now, maintaining sattva guna, maintaining purity of intellect, maintaining intellect in such a way that it can get into the level of meditation, maintaining spiritual level all the time. All these things are dependent on our constant action. Now, with the conditioning of nature, with the conditioning of this creation, whatever things are there, they will never remain in the same state ever. Whatever we desire, the way we desire it, that my feelings should never get spoiled. But remember, is that really possible? Why? Because it is all part of this created world, and created world, nothing can remain in the same state ever. Now you need to remember, as my feeling and emotion is also, because of being part of the created, it will never stay at the same level. My ashraddha, my non-faith in something, non-belief in something, also will not remain at the same state. The same goes for my faith also. I have seen people, they say that he was with a guru, he or she was with a guru for 10 years, they followed that guru, but don't know what happened. Of course, guru may not have done anything, but don't know what happened. They completely had gone away from that guru. I've seen such examples else, around us also. So shraddha, the faith, also never remains ends at the same level. I'm telling you honestly, I interact with so many people. I see how sometimes people will join us also, and sometimes people misunderstand us also. Sometimes people have faith also. Sometimes people lose faith also. All those things are clearly visible in the around us. We see that constantly. The only one thing which I try to maintain is, come what may, hey, I am working for God and God is there with me. Rest of the things will keep coming and going. It doesn't matter. We have to reach that level. So, in our life also, we see that nothing remains at the same level ever. Those people with whom we had hatred yesterday, maybe we have developed compassion for them. And these kind of leelas, these kind of things constantly keeps happening. you know for some people, I told you, some people I've seen, they have faith today, and then suddenly that faith changes into, the faith completely goes and gets into a level of completely non-believing nature. Ashraddha starts to develop in them. For some, in some's mind, devotion and comes, and slowly, gradually, the devotion starts to reduce in someone. you know uh, uh, Vis-a-vis certain people, when we meet certain people, initially at the first instance there will be deep kind of anger for someone, but maybe after a few hours that anger doesn't stay there at all. This is a constant change happening in this creation, and nobody can escape this change at all. Yeah, in here, one thing we all need to remember is that no state, no situation will remain at the same level for all the time. It's not there at all. Just one more thing I will say here, that in our sadhana also, we want to develop a state where we are dependent on the feeling which is generated from the sadhana. And we constantly want that I get certain kind of peace and happiness from my sadhana. And if I desire for such things like peace and happiness to come from my sadhana, from my devotional things which I do in my life, prayer, etc., then remember, I will have to do the required things also for them, isn't it? Whatever we attain from our karma, it will always remain temporary, it will always remain anitya, and it can never maintain at the same level all the time. It is not possible. Narayan, the biggest thing we need to remember is, that's the truth of life. We all need to remember, you know and since, because it constantly keeps changing, means what? I cannot sustain with the things of this created world all the time. That is why I'm constantly looking for something which is permanent. Now just to take it back, Narayan, you just think that, aren't we all looking for a permanent happiness? And but the problem is we are searching for permanent happiness in this temporary world. Now that is the dichotomy we are all facing. We are looking and searching for permanent happiness in this temporary world. Remember, I use this purposively. The only one who is permanent in this world is God or Supreme Consciousness alone. But alas, the problem is we do not have the temperament, we do not have the readiness, we do not have the qualification to reach there, to devote that place. And since we do not end up knowing that thing, we end up constantly searching for happiness, contentment, and fulfillment, and try to revel in things in this of this temporary world, in this temporary world. Since whatever we attain and with our action will always be at the level of being temporary and will never remain at the same state ever, that is why with any achievement of ours, our life cannot be maintained. It doesn't work for us at all on a longer run. And since our need is completely different from that, we are looking for permanent happiness, satisfaction, contentment, and reveling, and that cannot be fulfilled here. That is why, with the grace of Supreme Consciousness Bhagavan Krishna, with the grace of Supreme Consciousness Narayan, we Sanatan Dharmis have got a scripture that, by grace of God, he has enjoined us with a scripture where such a state is expounded and explained, which is not dependent or not or under the sway of any action, and neither in terms of growth, neither in terms of growth or expansion, nor in terms of maintaining that level. No, we do not have the responsibility of maintaining that level also, and we do not have the responsibility of increasing that level also, because it cannot be increased. Once you reach there, it is the ultimate. Here in this verse, Bhagavan has used the word tasya. Now, the meaning of the word tasya is Paramatma Rate. Here, Bhagavan is addressing, talking about those who have gained reveling in nature in the self. Paramatma Rate. Those people who are constantly reveling in the self means what? Whose reveling nature in the self has been established, so to say. Remember, their state is completely strange. It's completely out of the world. It's completely different for us to understand. That's why Bhagavan said, Na eva tasya kritena artha. By doing any action, they are not going to gain anything, they are not going to establish anything new. But still, that person constantly keeps doing. Why? Not constantly keep doing out of maintaining or gaining something, but constantly keep doing according to his or own nature before realization. Now, action means duty here, and here, when we talk about a jnani, a man of realization, and they cannot say that the man of realization is completely free from action, right? Free from action, but he doesn't have a responsibility of action, he doesn't have a duty. But you will see that according to the because the body is present here, this man of realization also does certain activities for maintaining this body. Maintaining means is so that the body is constantly maintained till the time this body falls. Means that this person will also feel hungry for will also have to release his waste material from the body and all those things. The constant breathe in and breathe out will also be going. All these are actions, right? All these are activity going on. So it's not that it's free from activity. Seeing these activities in a jnani, in a man of supreme knowledge, a man of self-realization, and we may end up saying that a jnani is also doing action. But remember, you are not seeing the jnani here. You are seeing the prakriti here. The prakriti which is constantly acting through a jnani, through a man of realization. Those actions which you are seeing in this man of realization, they only belong to the prakriti, they only belong to the creation. Remember, for a man of realization, it becomes creation's responsibility to maintain his body till the time his body falls. So you will see the creation working through the body of this man of realization to maintain him. Creation is running after him to serve him. The mother earth serves this man of realization. So whatever you see around for this particular man of realization, remember, it's the play of prakriti, a play of nature going on. Now a man of realization, a great saint, a great sage, Mahapurush, does not do any action according to any of his own desires or resolves. Remember, in reality, you know, his life now is only an expression of his past vasanas and past nature. It is only an expression of that. He has got nothing to do with it. That is one thing we all need to realize about a man of realization. You see, these verses are taking time, but I would want to take the time to go through it so that we understand it well before we move on to the next particular verse. So, that much for today. Rest we will see in the next session. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. श्रीमन्नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. ओम पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरि ओम. ओम तत्सत्.